Hello, my name is Life California. I'm Director of Communications here at March for Our Life San Diego, and today I'm presenting you with Part B of our education series, which I'm very excited to announce because it's very important that we stay informed on these policies that are strengthening the fight against violence within our community and San Diego as a whole. Make sure to go to our website so that you know where to donate to fund the cause and so we can all stand in solidarity in this fight together.
Firstly, it is important when analyzing Section 41 of the proposed charter amendment to note that the Commission on Police Practices would completely replace the current Community Review Board, otherwise known as the CRB. Alongside this, unlike other city commissions, appointments to the Commission on Police Practices would be done by the City Council rather than the Mayor. This adjustment will greatly strengthen the Commission over our current model, as the Mayor is also the direct overseer of the SDPD. It does not make sense that our current Police Oversight Board has the same person who monitors and directs the SDPD also supplying appointments to the board. That simply creates a conflict of interest for the Mayor, which intentionally or unintentionally would hurt the legitimacy of their appointments. While these appointments could of course be rejected by the City Council, if approved, the now CRB members are directly connected to the Mayor, and thus, the board is now linked to the department it is supposed to review. You wouldn't want a health inspector to also serve as an employee of the restaurant that it is being inspected. So why would you want our Police Oversight Board to have a direct connection to the police department? The new model fixes this by having the council appoint members to the commission. This grants our communities more direct representation and say concerning the appointments onto the commission. This change allows every district to better showcase its voice and who it thinks should represent their specific community on matters of policing. This point concerning the City Council is one we see and we would like to highlight further as we continue this presentation. By granting the City Council powers that would typically be held in control of the Mayor, the City Council now has control over mandating additional powers and responsibilities to the Commission as it sees fit. As mentioned earlier, the increased power of the Council directly benefits voters, as these are the people that you have given your voice to in government. In addition, they are also the group that you, the voter, has more power to hold accountable. If the council or a specific member fails in an appointment to the commission or fails to establish thoughtful proceedings in an ordinance, then the voter has every right not only to contact and demand an explanation, but also to vote them out of office. While the same could be said of the Mayor, the council has 9 people on it. That is a much greater opportunity to represent your specific interests and allow you to play a bigger role in the process through your specific district's council member. The Mayor represents the entire city, but your council representative represents you and your district more specifically. The exact specifics concerning appointments will be decided by the council at a later date through ordinance. All the more reason to continue following up with your council member to assure that they plan to support putting logical qualifiers, term limits, and methods in place for these appointment proceedings. Alongside this transition of appointment power and general legislation of the Commission itself will be granted much more broad and long-needed powers to achieve its goal of furthering transparency and accountability within the SDPD. For starters, the amendment mandates that the Commission on Police Practices must at all times investigate any incidents involving death in police custody, death as a result of police shooting, or death resulting from an interaction with police. This particular point makes it clear that every death at the hands of police will be investigated and addressed, and none will slip through the cracks, without deliberate obstruction by the police. These conditions remain whether or not a complaint has been filed. Without a shadow of a doubt, the amendment forces the Commission to investigate any and all police-involved deaths in San Diego. Beyond these, the Commission has the discretionary power to investigate all other kinds of complaints against the police, with the exception of complaints where the person filing explicitly asked for the case to not be investigated, or if a police officer or specific allegation is not identified within the complaint. To further bolster the amendment, language was added to suggest 5 key factors for which the Commission should consider pursuing an investigation. These factors were: if great bodily injury occurred at the hands of police, if a police officer showed dishonesty when filing a report on an incident either relating to or unrelated to another police officer, an incident that generated immense public interest, an incident that proves a pattern of misconduct by a particular police officer, or an incident that proves inappropriate policies, practices, or procedures conducted by the SDPD and its members. These factors were added to the amendment in order to provide further guidance to the new commission for which complaints should be investigated. While it does not mandate that all incidents that fall under this category be investigated, it does a fantastic job insinuating what a member of the commission should be looking for in a complaint, thus allowing greater assurance that these will consistently be factors taken into account. The amendment even goes as far as to include that if necessary, as long as it is adhering to federal and state policy, the Commission has the power to refer matters found in an investigation to a grand jury, district attorney, or other governmental agency, which must, by law, investigate the SDPD for the activities, policies, proceedings, or incidents of concern. This further ensures that justice will be brought to victims of any wrongdoing by the SDPD. If the Commission finds itself out of its depth, the clause specifically will allow it to refer the matter to a higher authority. This higher authority will then continue the search for justice, again ensuring that these cases do not simply fall by the wayside and that they are seen out to completion. To this end, the amendment further assures justice by mandating that the Commission must at the very least review and evaluate all complaints filed against the SDPD.
In yet another section, the amendment further outlines conditions for which an investigation should likely be pursued. It outlines sexual complaints, ensuring that if some of these kinds of complaints fall outside the factors established earlier, that the Commission should be mindful and wary of sexual misconduct conducted by the police force. Then, if this is deemed necessary, they can open investigations into these kinds of cases specifically. And to help with this peaceful transition from the CRB to this new commission, the amendment also mandates that the old members of the CRB will serve in this new capacity until the council votes on new appointments to the board. While their stay may be short-lived, these newly transitioned CRB members would immediately allow the commission to begin its work once approved by the voters. Due to the mandates in the amendment, especially the one concerning death involving police, the old CRB members would have no choice but to start the work for the new commission if and when complaints begin to be filed. In addition, when the commission is created, an executive director will be appointed and will serve the appointing authority of the commission, authorizing additional employees to serve the commission during investigations. These additional employees must be appointed in the accordance with the other pieces of the city charter. The additional employees will typically be in the form of independent legal consultants, other kinds of criminal experts, or private investigators that must have no affiliation with the SDPD. These employees will advise the council on how to further pursue an investigation and will work on contractual basis for the city. The word independent is key, as unlike the previous CRB, this new commission is required to have independent legal counsel separate from the city attorney on all matters that it may have questions about. Similar to why the mayor would have conflict of interest in this commission, the city attorney is the legal advisor to the SDPD. As mentioned earlier with the mayor, intentionally or unintentionally, having a person advise both parties from which they represent is counterintuitive and has hurt the CRB as a result. The entire goal of these boards in the first place is to reaffirm public trust that the police are being held accountable. By having the same legal advisor for both parties, you hurt that public trust. By establishing independent legal counsel by asserting the executive director must appoint employees who are independent of the city attorney, this amendment fixes yet another conflict of interest that was in the original CRB. While the executive director holds a lot of power within the commission, including appointments and also keeping and releasing of the records, language and proceedings were put into the amendment to ensure if a bad appointment was made to the executive director position, the commission would still allow it to function even with a bad appointment. The commission will be tasked with writing annual performance reviews of the director and also has the freedom to moderate their funds as long as they coincide with the compensation schedule established by City Council.
The ability to compel the SDPD to comply with the Commission's operations is another important part, and this section of the amendment makes sure it is included. Firstly, the amendment establishes early that any relevant documents to a specific investigation that the SDPD holds must be released to the Commission and their investigators, as long as state or federal legalities do not prevent its release. This makes it so that the Commission will have the truth needed to formulate a case against the SDPD if necessary. In some cases, it could be likely that these precious SDPD documents would also help to prove the department's innocence. Either way, the release of these files will force transparency, ultimately helping the public have more trust in the police department. To further responsibility, the Commission will also be forced to review all factual findings and evidence-based conclusions that the police department has found during the police misconduct or police officer misconduct cases. In addition to this, the Commission will also be forced to review the disciplinary actions proposed by the Chief of Police concerning incidents of misconduct. These two pieces make it a point that the findings of the police department are not simply accepted without scrutiny. Reviewing the disciplinary actions also ensures that, again, the police department is held accountable and not able to do whatever it pleases. To further strengthen, the amendment language was included that the Commission itself may propose alterations to the Chief of Police's disciplinary plan if they had investigated the case themselves. This proposal by the Commission must also be seriously considered and taken into account by the Chief of Police according to the amendment language. While the Chief of Police ultimately retains disciplinary authority, these clauses further support the amendment's goal of transparency and accountability within the SCPD. With their own ability to advise an alternative disciplinary plan that must be thoroughly considered by the Chief, the Commission is able to, at the very least, push a compromise, possibly strengthening a previously weak disciplinary plan. It is worth noting that what qualifies as police misconduct and police officer misconduct will be defined by the Council in ordinance. For cases where sustained complaints were found for an officer separate from misconduct, the Commission does not have to, but can review and evaluate the disciplinary actions and SDPD findings as it would if the case was misconduct related. Beyond the investigatory cases, the Commission may also review and evaluate any policies, procedures, or actions of the SDPD and propose recommendations to the mayor, the police department, or the city council on ways to amend these items. This extra detail is yet another way the amendment ensures that the SDPD remains committed to its promises to protect and serve the public. While this power is not mandatory, it will certainly allow the Commission ample opportunity to point out systematic issues in the department if they are found. Finally, the last big change from the CRB to this new Commission on Police Practices as outlined in this section is the ability of the Commission to subpoena witnesses, enforce their attendance, and testimony through contempt proceedings. This big change once again makes it impossible for police officers to evade the law. Whatever witnesses the Commission needs, it should have no trouble getting thanks to this addition. This is a big step as previously the CRB could only ask for witnesses but could not compel them under law, as it lacked subpoena power. By fixing this loophole, the public can be secure that any information held by witnesses, police officers, or otherwise will surface. The subpoena power even allows the request of any records needed for the investigation, further solidifying the very robust nature of this power. Despite all the various issues with the old CRB and all positive changes to be put in this new commission, the original board was still intended to function as a board that would review cases and increase transparency and accountability within the SDPD. Unfortunately, it was limited by its language and was unable to fulfill its goal. The additions to this new commission as outlined in this section, including but not limited limited to subpoena power, independent legal counsel, independence from the mayor's office, and clear mandates on what has to and what logically should be investigated by this Commission on Police Practices all provide an amendment deserving of public support